Hey booktube, welcome back to my channel. It's time for another haul. I feel like I've been doing a lot of hauls recently, but I guess I've just been buying more books than usual. And you might be looking at the title of this video and wondering, what happened to me? Yeah, if you know me and my reading tastes, I don't tend to skew towards romance of any kind. And I feel like a lot of books have been ruined for just focusing on the romance too much. Especially in fantasy when there's so many other things that I'm like so much more interested in. But not this time. Yes, this haul is purely fantasy romance. Heavy on the romance. So yeah, this is kind of an like out of my comfort zone type haul. And so I do have a little bit of liquid courage. This is the part where I say I'm an adult and you should all drink responsibly. But this is the time of year when I would be out drinking, doing shots. I can't because we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I will do shots alone, just me and my books. I just want an excuse. So yeah, every time I haul a book, I will take a shot. I think I have maybe 11 books, which is not that many shots. It's only sours, it's not that. I suppose it depends on like your alcohol tolerance. I am extremely tolerant to alcohol, just in case anyone is worried and thinks this is a dumb idea. Don't worry about me. I'm in my own house. There are other people here. I'll be fine. I will not get drunk from this. Sorry about that, I had to break. Ordered takeaway food and it arrived, so I've just spent like the past 20 minutes, half an hour just eating some takeout food. Takeaway, alcohol, I'm just pure vibing right now. So yeah, getting on with the book haul, I guess. Speaking of, one last thing before I start this haul, I have gone all out and I am wearing, I don't know if you can tell, but these are heart-shaped circle lenses, so I'm trying to get into like the romance spirit. I feel like it sounds like that should just be horny, but that's not what we're going for. So yeah, for every book I haul, I'll do a shot. And we'll see how I am by the end of it. I think I will be completely sober. Feel free to place bets in the comments if you really want. Actually, I think I'm just going to start out with one. Just to like, set the mood, set the tone. I think this is a double. I can't... Someone tell me, I don't know what this is. God, I hope I don't spill that. So, I have my shot. It smells like cherries, it smells so nice. So yeah, to a romance haul. It's actually quite nice. It's not like I'm doing shots of straight vodka, which is what I used to do. Fair enough, it's not Corky's, which is the nicest tasting shot, don't at me. But you know, cherry sours, it's fine. And with that said, I think my first book is kind of twinning with my drink. It is Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. The first in, oh my god, what is this called? The House of Earth and Blood? That is a mouthful. Considering the kind of scenes that I know Sarah J Maas writes, I feel like I might be saying that at another point in this book. I swear to god, if the words a decadence are used again, I'm out. I bet you didn't expect me to be hauling this one. This for me, I really sort of like ummed and ahed about whether I would buy this. I read all the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas and I'm just not really the biggest fan, but I thought they were okay. I gave them like a 3 stars, kind of like middle of the road. They weren't really good for me, but I don't think they were bad either. I have not even attempted her other series. What is it? The Court of Thorns and Roses. Did get there in the end. Yeah, I never tried out that series. I don't think it's for me. She writes fae romance and I'm assuming that there's going to be some sort of similar theme in this. This I think is either, I want to say it's like a futuristic urban fantasy, maybe a sci-fi, but it's primarily like a fantasy, I think. But there might be like sci-fi aspects in it, I'm not sure. And this is a big book. This is like a chunky beat. And I have to admit, I know people love this cover. I absolutely detest it. I think it's awful and I hate it. But I figured I would give this another chance because I did find quite a lot of parts in Throne of Glass at least entertaining, and I don't know, I feel like Sarah J Maas is one of those authors where I can't actively like really dislike anything about her work, but neither do I really like it. So I guess I'm kind of giving it another chance. A very good friend of mine was very like hyped for this book and maybe I just got caught up in the hype a little bit and I decided I would buy it. And if I ever felt like quite a long, chunky, I guess fantasy book that I'm assuming is going to be very heavy on the romance aspect and that there will be like, you know, a lot of weight put around the romance plot, then I would have this. And if I get to it, I get to it. Oh no, my knife is in the way. So I guess that means I have to take a shot because the first one was just for fun. So yeah, thanks. Cheers, Sarah J Maas. Thank you. The next book in my haul is another one which is just like purely, this one is like completely, I think, centered on like the romance and the relationship, and I imagine it's gonna be like kind of a little bit dark, a little bit like angsty, but very romance heavy. However, out of like a lot of the books on this list, this is one that I was very interested to pick up, and that is The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. First off, can we admire the cover? It's gorgeous, it's gothic, it's angsty, I love it. Oh, and there's even some, I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little, is embossed the right word? There's some roses here. I really don't know if you can see them. But yes, unlike Crescent City, this is a very short book. And this is one where the plot did sort of draw me in, so it's been a while since I like ordered this, and from what I remember, the plot is something about there's a girl and she's like trying to woo the king. I think she's trying to get married to the king because she wants like revenge, and it's like a revenge story, and I'm thinking like, is it going to be one of those typical things where it's like, you know, you get betrothed to the person that you want to get revenge upon, and then maybe you decide that like actually you like that person and it's one of those whole like angsty romance things, or is it going to take like a different turn? I don't really know, but I'm expecting it to be like kind of like cheesy, maybe like a little bit like angsty gothic, and hopefully fun. So yeah, this is like not my normal kind of genre. I don't typically turn to this, but again, it's very short, and I don't know, I was really drawn to this one. I was excited for the release of this one, which does not happen often, especially when like romance is like at like the key, or the relationship, because I don't know, maybe it won't be a romance. It probably will, but when the relationship is like the key aspect of the plot, I tend not to enjoy it. But something about this one makes me think differently. I could be totally wrong, but who knows. Also unrelated, but I do just want to say, when I picked that book up, this fell out, and it's like, you know, like the little, oh, what are they called? I want to say it's like a headband. I don't think that's what it's called. It's like the little sewn part in the book that like sews like the top of the pages. It just came out. It wasn't even real. It's fake. It's not even real. What was the point? It's not even sewn on. This is the book equivalent of when girls' jeans have pockets, but they're not real pockets. What was the point in this? Oh shit, I have to do a shot. I really hope you guys don't think this is like too, like, this is not, I know my sort of like drinking limits, so this is fine for me, don't worry about it. People normally drink like wine with their hauls. I don't like wine, I don't like beer, I like spirits and shots, so excuse me. It still tastes good. I really like the flavour. I like sour things. It's just a fun day for me. Okay, the next book in my haul is me continuing with a series that I thought I would love, then I didn't think I would love, and now I'm thinking like, oh, I could still like it. And that's The Damned by Renee Ahdieh. So yeah, I read The Beautiful back in, I think it was like October last year. A lot of the issues with that book were to do with the marketing. Like, it was very heavily marketed as like a vampire story, and it should not have been. I feel like it would have been much more enjoyable if the vampire-y aspect was a surprise, because it was like heavily hinted at but never really explicit. You know, I just think the marketing for the book was wrong. So I went into it expecting like a very overt, over-the-top, like gothic, cliche vampire romance, which I actually would have really liked, as cliche as those things are. And I feel like where the book ended off, I really hated it. It wasn't really a twist. I hated the trope of the villain at the end of The Beautiful, but everything else about it I did kind of enjoy. It was like, it's a YA, so I kind of thought it was kind of mediocre. Surprisingly, the romance aspect of it I actually didn't dislike. I did enjoy the chemistry between like the two love interests. So with that said, the romance has like, it's been set, you know, there's a foundation there to continue in this book, and the vampire and paranormal aspects of the first book were like ramping up a bit towards the end, so I'm assuming that that might feature more in this book. So I'm hoping that both the vampires and like the spiciness of the romance both feature more heavily in the sequel, which is why I have the sequel. So yeah, angsty New Orleans gothic vampire romance, yes. Oh shit, it's time for a shot. I feel like there's less shots in this. Oh, this is kind of a small one, but I don't dare do a second glug, so this is like 75% of a shot, but it's fine. My channel isn't monetized anyway, but this video would never get monetized. Okay, book number 4, at least I can still count. This is one where, based on like the cover and the synopsis, I would never ever pick this book up. I don't think it's for me. However, that book is Radiance by Grace Draven, and YouTuber Leanna from Leanna's Library has talked about this book several times as being like, it's a romance but it's very good, and I seem to have a lot of similar opinions when it comes to things like fantasy books. So I figure if we share a lot of the same tastes in like fantasy books, then I figure when romance is added to that, maybe, potentially, I want to give this book a go. It seemed interesting. It is very short, although to be fair the font is kind of small. I believe the plot is basically there's like a human girl and then there's this other race of humanoid, and they look disgusting, but they also think that we humans look disgusting, and in order to like forge a peace between like the two races, this girl and this guy are married off, and it's kind of like, okay, their union is kind of like sealing the deal on, I guess, like a peace treaty or agreement or something like that. So they're having to learn to live with each other, get used to each other, because they obviously both are very physically repulsed by one another. But I think it's more about them coming to terms with, actually, personality wise, they gel very well, I think, or they like each other, and it does turn into a romance, as I can tell by the cover. So yeah, a bit of a different one. I'm interested to hear the description of the male love interest to see like whether I agree with what is and is not disgusting. Bearing in mind I did romance the Tyrion in Mass Effect, so, you know, weird space lizard birdman, we'll see where I get to. Can we see that down there? I think we can. This is just turning out to be a really fun evening for me. I get to haul books, you know, I get to eat delicious Chinese food, and I get to drink a lot of cherry alcohol. Very like I'm alone in my room talking to my books. But you know, you've got to make the pandemic fun somehow. So cheers. I really can't tell, like, is this a double or is this a single? Okay, the next 3 books in my haul come as a set, and they're very popular, and I never thought I would read them, but here we are. It is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. These books, this series, was like such a booktube darling when I first started making videos, and I had absolutely no intention of picking up this series whatsoever. Except that. This book not so much, but like these covers, I love them so much. I want them on my shelves. This series was a cover buy. They're so short as well, like look how small they are. Yeah, the books in this series being The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and like, oh look how shiny. I love the colours in this. I love it. And The Queen of Nothing, and again, I love the artwork on this one. It's something about it being like icy but pinkish. They just appeal to me. Not so much book 1, which is just white and gold and it's plain, but these two I love. Don't know what this book is about. Seriously, they're so short. I feel like I'm holding one book. They're so short, and to my knowledge, I think the main character is called Jude. I know it's about her falling in love with and having like an angsty fae romance with like this fairy prince type guy in maybe like a magical fairy world. I'm not sure. It's meant to be like a little bit dark, a little bit angsty, and I feel like this could be like a pretty binge-worthy series if I'm just feeling like, I don't want to say trashy, I don't want to judge a book before I've read it, but if I'm feeling that way inclined, I feel like this could be a really good series to just like maybe binge read one day. And as I said, I do want these on my shelves because look at this. I'm sorry, that's a very shallow reason, but some romances are shallow, and I am a magpie, and I cannot help my magpie nature. I want the shiny books. Do you know what I've just realised? This one isn't shiny at all. Maybe, is this a different like imprint or something? Yes it is. This one is Little Brown, and these ones are whoever the fuck has a Kia as a logo. I don't know. But either way, yes. I feel like the amount of times I've heard people talk about this series, I should know more about it, but I just don't. But then I guess that's good going into it. I did hear the end was disappointing as well, but again, because I like know that in advance, I probably won't be as disappointed by it. I don't really know. But yeah, I figured at some point I would read these. What a shock for me, considering I mainly just like grimdark, and if a book doesn't have romance, that suits me just fine because I'm not interested most of the time. But you know, for when I am, I have these. How am I going to put all of these out? Do you know what? We're just going to put them up here because that makes more sense to me. Okay, yeah, you can see them there. Oh, shit, I have to do 3 shots now. As I say, please drink responsibly. So this is shot number 1. Shot number 2. Shot number 3. It's a bit of a small one, sorry. again, just to stress, this for me is not that much alcohol. I just have a very high tolerance for alcohol. But yes, drink responsibly, know your limits. Maybe make sure you've got some delicious Chinese food sitting across the room, like some leftovers. Once again, if we're talking romance, I pick the takeout food option. This is where my heart lies. Oh, okay, the next one is a book that I've been kind of excited to haul for a while, actually. It came out such a long time ago, and I feel like this has been sat in a box for an inordinate amount of time. And that is Ruthless Gods by Emily A. Duncan. Yes, the sequel to Wicked Saints. The video that I made nearly an hour-long rant review on. Yay, the sequel! Yes, so while this isn't really like touted as a romance fantasy, it is. This is one where the first book in the series said it was going to be really dark, full of like revenge and like dark gods and like dark magic, and I mean, it really was just one teenage girl pining over like this one, I don't know, kind of angsty darkling wannabe guy. It was not what I signed up for. So you might wonder, you know, come on now, why did you decide to invest in the sequel? And it's because I said in my rant review that despite the fact that I could actually genuinely rant for like nearly an hour about all the things that just the issues that I had with this book and the things that I got so annoyed with while reading it, like entertainment wise, enjoyment wise, I did still give it, I think, like a 3 stars, partially because the vibe, it's based a lot on Lee Bardugo's like Grisha series, Skyrim and Dragon Age. I like the Grisha series, okay, but Skyrim and Dragon Age, 2 of my favourite things ever. Dragon Age is like my favourite fictional universe ever. And Skyrim is a video game that I have sunk, I think, at least like a few thousand hours into. So it really was one where I thought, especially because it was like her debut novel as well, Emily A. Duncan had initially been like a fanfic writer who transitioned to being an author, which is a hustle that I can kind of actually respect, because I feel like fanfic writers don't get enough love. There is that thing though where, and I feel like I should do a whole video on this because I have such strong opinions about this and a lot to say and nobody ever talks about it, but there's a big difference in the way that you can write fanfic to writing like your own original story, or just turning a fanfic into like an original IP, I guess. And I don't think she quite got it all right, so I'm hoping that with the continuation of the series and the fact that this is now not her first book, you know, she's got that experience under her belt and she's maybe like seen some criticism and like learned and grown as an author, and I'm hoping that the issues I had with the first book will maybe be not present in this book, and you know, it is a longer book as well, so I am really hoping that the things that I liked are still there and the things that I maybe had issues with are less so present in this book. That's the hope anyway. Again, this edition is beautiful. This is the Owl Crate special edition. I really do hope they do one for the 3rd book, which is called something monsters. I don't remember at this time. I really hope they do an edition of that, because I would never have bought an edition of this book if it hadn't gotten like the Owl Crate treatment for the cover. Even the spine, I hated the face on the other spine because I think it was just a picture of the author that had been like photoshopped to look kind of like the main character. I'm really not sure. This one looks a bit less intrusive. I still don't really like faces of characters on books, but it is what it is. The first book in this series followed like a girl who can call on her gods for magical powers, and like this war between these 2 countries that is kind of like this religious war. I guess like it's hard to say because none of the decisions and none of the plot is like hers. She's very much carried along into other people's stories, which was one of my complaints. For the most part, she has these god-given powers, and yeah, it's this angsty romance between her and like a dark, evil, like blood mage of the opposing country. I did initially intend to read this one and do like a full review on it when it very first came out, but as we all know, I was having some issues with my brain and reading and like what I could and couldn't really pick up, so I kind of missed it. But I think I will still try and like make this one like a higher priority on my reading list, because I think the 3rd book will be the final book and I would like to try and read that one around the time of its release, so we'll see how I go. Oh wait, does this one have... Yes! Oh, I forgot this being an Owl Crate. It's beautiful actually, hang on. I love this. This is so goth. Can you see? It says King of Moths, King of Blood, King of Horrors. I can't read it in the viewfinder. It's a weird goth font. Go easy on me. Yes, this book is beautiful under the dust jacket. I love this. This I love this. And again, there's some secret under the dust jacket art of, I guess, 2 of the characters. I think that's Nadia and Malakiash. I still don't know how to say his name. I thought it was Malakais. Everyone else said Malakiash. So yeah, not one that's specifically meant to be fantasy romance, but like the biggest part of the plot of the last book was the romance. The romance was the only reason that anything ever happened in the book, so I'm counting this towards my fantasy romance haul, which we all know means I've got to take a shot. So I guess, yeah, thank you, Emily A. Duncan. Cheers. Tasty. And the last book in my haul of fantasy romances is Drowned Country by Emily Tesh. So this again is a sequel. This is a sequel to Silver in the Wood, which was a very, very short book. Like, this is super short. This is like a novella. And that one followed, like, it was all about like a man of the woods, like a green man type mythos, and this male-male relationship between this like sort of semi-mythical, semi-mortal man of the woods and this young man who has just inherited or moved into the estate on which these woodlands reside. And it was very short, and one of my only issues with the book, which wasn't really an issue, but the only reason I didn't rate it higher was because it was so short that I didn't really, it's hard to really get so much from something so short, so I think I gave it like a high 3 stars or something. This being a continuation, I'm very interested to get back to the characters, especially the way their situations left off in the first book. Very interested to get back to them, see how their stories develop. I don't think this was planned at the time. Like, at the time that I read it, it was just a complete standalone, but I can see how there is definitely room for more. So I am really interested to see like the rest of the characters' stories. I don't know if maybe this is going to become like a series, I don't know. I would be open to that because I did really like the writing style, and I did really like the vibe of like the sort of mystical, folkloric sort of magic type fantasy that was in here. That it did get a little bit darker towards the end, but yeah, the reason I've put it in this haul is because while I guess like it wasn't necessarily totally centered around their romance, the romance was like a huge part of it, and for such a short book it was like a very, very big part of the story, and it had like it had quite a prominent place in the narrative. And so I'm wondering, I don't know if the romance will continue to be like a key part of the story, but I'm hoping that it will. I'm hoping that this will again have some romance in it because it was quite sweet and I would like to see it developed more. Again, with a change in dynamic between the 2 main characters, I'm very interested to see where that goes. And so yeah, I pre-ordered this. It's been out a while, it's been on my shelf a while, but I will pick this one up eventually. So yeah, I feel like out of like maybe like all of these, this one is most likely to be like the most my taste, aside from the fact that it's very short. I feel like the tone and the vibe of this one and the way that it's written is most kind of fitting with my taste, because the first one I read just on a whim, and it had nothing to do with a specific, you know, out of my comfort zone haul. It didn't seem out of my comfort zone at all. So this is the most like comforting book for me. Will this fit here? Can you see it? Oh shit, it's shots time. Is this my last shot? Oh no. I guess this is my last shot. I was supposed to film another video after this. So my last shot, cheers. I can put the lid back on now. So yeah, there was my fantasy romance haul of all the things I could have hauled. Like, you guys could expect like, you know, vampire book hauls from me or dragon book hauls from me, grimdark hauls. I even did a sci-fi haul, which I thought was like, you know, out of my normal genre. But romance? Did anyone see that coming? I feel like not. But as I say, you know, as much as like these books are, because like I don't want to trash like the whole romance genre, I do read like a lot of, I wouldn't say romance, but I suppose it would technically fall into the romance genre. I don't just want to say fan fiction. I suppose it technically is also fan fiction. Do I just say I read a lot of adult fan fiction? Basically, I do consume a lot of media, text and otherwise, which I guess is like very romance centric. So I don't suppose it's too much of a stretch for me to enjoy a fantasy book where the romance forms like a more key central part of like the plot or the narrative or like the character or their motivations. It's something that I tend to not enjoy for the most part, but I think usually that's when I'm promised something else and then the romance takes over. I feel like when I know that a book is going to be romance centric, I don't think the romance can annoy me because I'm expecting it, and in some cases I'm picking the book up specifically for the romance. So yeah, I've made a big deal out of it, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a stretch to understand why I probably will like some of these books. I don't actually hate romance. But yeah, this was my haul. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I said, I'm sorry for including alcohol. I don't normally do stuff like that in videos, but I just wanted to pair it in this video for some reason. I don't know why. I think I just felt like a drink. But yeah, do let me know if you like this video, or I guess if you have any strong opinions, no spoilers, on any of these books. But yeah, I think with that said, I think this has been it from me. Hopefully maybe you should be seeing some of these books in some of my future wrap-ups, if I ever really get back into reading. We can only hope. But yeah, with that said, that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in another video, but until then, bye!